control's great, his reads are great. But yeah, he did veto the 2 maps he'd played before. He apparently is at least going to start off with a similar opener of setting that probe over ASAP. In the top left of now Lightshade for game 1 of the rematch, we have SOS.
He's not going to do it. There is a pylon at home. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of the biggest of Gabriels, the Recordmeister when it comes to the ESL Weekly. It is HeRoMaRinE.
He did have 14 pylon at home last the 2 builds, actually.
No. Oh my.
I mean, he could do it again. I feel like at some point it has to be a fake, though. Like, it is only the pylon at some point. Or nothing. Because, like, legitimately, a lot of Korean players have been sending out faster probes to do, like, just like a heck of a lot of harassment. No proxies, no gateways. And finally, we have that situation here. So, I don't know. I think it maybe was like a last-second thought of me, but, someone on the desk said it. And I feel like SOS, not that he would have intentionally threw the first series, of course, but he was like, I'm going to kind of experiment, see what's going on. And then if I get the rematch, then I think I'd actually be really confident against him. Because I'm just going to play the way, like, either entirely different, no proxy gateways, or, wow, parting really showed the way. I'm just going to play like that.
What is that second probe up to? You think he's going to go Void
Proxy,
race?
Yeah.
Oh my god, and he gets first blood. SOS gets a SCV kill. I mean, we all know that feels like a mental victory already.
Yeah, it doesn't feel so good. I mean, I'm not very surprised by this. SOS is still going to be aggressive. It's not the 13 pylon, right off the bat, but it is going to be the 1-base build. HeRoMaRinE has been also not going for Reaper openers unless, basically forced to. But this game, he does at least SCV scout, which is, like, I think other Protosses he might skip. Yeah, you would never skip that versus SOS, right? Once he doesn't proxy gateways in your base, SCV scout him.
So HeRoMaRinE gets the heads up that there are 2 gases taken in the main base. Are we going to get shield batteries here already? No, he's just going to let that probe die at first. Target has been wiped in on the low ground. I'm actually a little bit concerned here for Gabe, even though this is not the worst scenario for a Terran player, because you're not building that command center yet, you didn't invest into a Reaper. And it's actually kind of nice. These 2 Marines are going to be very annoying here. I don't think they're going to get a cancel on that pylon. Where is that Zealot? Yeah, that Zealot is going to show up. Even though Zealots and Marines could be a fun little dance. He's going to get a cancel.
Oh, yeah, on that pylon, no, he's not, just kidding. That shield battery, no. And the Adept was on the way. Another one is coming along, too. And the Marines are forced to get back into the main base. Of course, it's very ambitious for a Terran to think they can actually nip this in the bud. It does usually come to a defense of the high ground. A bit awkward letting the Zealot in and having to focus on so much on that as opposed to perfecting your build. Loses one of the Marines as well. Forced to pull off of mining. This Zealot's actually really annoying in this scenario.
This first Void Ray is going to show up so soon that I think it could potentially hover above the factory. And this is something that we have to keep an eye on. That bunker is close to finishing up, but there is an Adept being very annoying too. Void Ray is almost out. Now at least we're going to get that bunker up and running, so a couple of these low HP Marines can hop into the bunker. Oh my goodness, that was very close already.
Yeah, this is really scary as a Terran to see that there could be shield batteries coming from either direction. And this one's going to be closer to his SCV line too. And his factory with the upgrade. This could actually be really scary. Some Terran players are pulling that all the way back. Not HeRoMaRinE. He planted it down ASAP. He lets the Adepts actually shade in. That's going to be a threat later on as the Cyclone has to choose Adept defense or Void Ray defense. For now, it's going to go after a shield battery. Gets the lock on, but isn't going to get the kill.
Now we probably get a Phoenix, right? We've got 2 Void Rays. I think this would be a perfect moment to queue up your first Phoenix to potentially lift one of these Cyclones. I'm really not feeling this for Gabe after he left that bunker as well for a split second. He lost a couple of Marines. This Tech Lab is taking a lot of damage. It will get safe for now, but look at how low HP these SCVs are.
Oh my gosh, but at least they're all alive, actually. That might be a bit of a missed opportunity for SOS. Now dealing with 2 Cyclones. 1 Adept might finally not fall. Shield battery's pretty good, but they have been drained. Third one is going to finish up more on the way, but that Cyclone upgrade also halfway done. It's paramount to actually get that upgrade, but at the current point, it looks like HeRoMaRinE with the SCVs just waiting to repair should be able to finish it.
We're about to have 3 Void Rays. He did not go for a Phoenix after 2 Void Rays like a lot of the European Protosses like to do. He's just queuing up more Void Rays. Now if 3 Void Rays use Prismatic Alignment and they all go for this Tech Lab, Macfield Accelerator is still not on. Here we go. Prismatic Alignment. Tech Lab will go down.
The SCVs, they went towards the Cyclone to repair it. They just were on auto repair, I suppose. Or he thought he had to repair the Cyclone. Either way, they weren't actually there from the start.
Goodness.
Maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe the Void Rays are too much. But 2 Cyclones without the upgrade are massively different than with the upgrade.
Yep, the shield batteries are so close as well, which means these Void Rays are super safe. Even if the Cyclones lock on, what difference does that really make? at this point you would say, mate, get a Phoenix. So you can actually lift the Cyclone. We do have a HeRoMaRinE. Now, HeRoMaRinE is not enough to one-shot a Void Ray, but you could potentially deal some damage. I like the idea of sending in the probe first to get some friendly fire going. The Adepts will complete their shade. HeRoMaRinE connection is good. A little bit careful here, as it was. He's getting a little bit carried away.
Yeah, good pullback. The bunker still being kind of a safe zone. Helped with the Adepts. Now a Viking is out. I mean, the Cyclone, the Vikings, all of these are still in danger. If the Void Rays lock on, it's really hard to actually run away from them. But at the same time, the Viking goes down. The lock-on almost kills a Void Ray, but it gets healed back up by now what is like more than half a dozen shield batteries. And HeRoMaRinE still is in a lot of trouble. He doesn't really have that end answer that would have been more Cyclones and the Cyclone upgrade. Magfield Accelerator had to finish. The factory goes down, and now it's just 2 barracks and a starport against a growing number of Void Rays.
Yeah, a couple of low HP Marines and a low HP bunker is obviously not going to make the difference here. I think Gabe knows that he's in a world of trouble. And what is there to potentially do at this point? The only thing you can do is hope that your opponent just makes a massive slip-up, goes way too far away from the batteries. But I have the feeling this is not sOS's first Void Ray rush. He's probably done this a fair amount of times. And I feel like even if he would try to mess this up, there is no way to mess it up.
Very difficult to. I mean, you really have to get overconfident, but perhaps it'll happen. This is going to be a terrible start for HeRoMaRinE. I mean, just losing to something like this is always frustrating to Terran, but then losing in the beginning of a best of 3, and losing when you actually scouted it pretty fast and reacted to it almost as well as possible. I do think ultimately it was a mistake to put the factory there. He's going for a bit of maybe speed, execution over the actual like placement of the future, but I think it is going to contribute a lot to his eventual loss as the Adepts come in. The Vikings try their darnest to actually micro against this, but it's just so hard to do so. The Adepts are on top of that last Cyclone, but the Marines, kind of the unsung heroes of that battle, just injured the Void Rays down into the red. Help take out the Adepts as well. But ASVs went down. There's actually only a worker difference. Maybe SOS did get overconfident.
There's no way. He shaded in all the Adepts as well. They got on top of the SCVs in the Cyclone. That was a bit awkward. The Marines were just going to town on all these Void Rays on the right side. SOS felt that doesn't really make a difference, does it? But the Marine count all of a sudden got up quite high. As HeRoMaRinE has done a phenomenal job in just pumping out 2 at a time and not skipping a beat at it. And now I don't hate it that much anymore for Gabe.
Yeah, I think the Adept Shade actually might be what really bit SOS in the butts. It wasn't going after the Cyclone, it wasn't going after the Marines. They would have just slaughtered the Marines. They're not adding any damage. But instead of, I'm guessing SOS was like, yeah, I'm pretty confident that anything will work. Maybe didn't think too hard on the Adept Shade, SCVs, Marines, whichever. But that might have been a big mistake. The Marines still here in plenty of numbers, almost get a last Void Ray, but again, significantly weakens it. It can't go away from the shield batteries at this point.
I don't think SOS should try to get batteries up in the main base because there's a tank out as well. And that tank is just going to make it really hard. Gets his shot off on the Stalkers. Some of these Void Rays are very low on HP. HeRoMaRinE wants to get one, doesn't quite get it. He has restarted Magfield Accelerator. This would be the latest one-base Magfield upgrade we have seen in a long time. And SOS finally realizes that, wow, I guess I'm not gonna break him, even though I really can't blame him for thinking that he had him earlier. Because I do think he had him, but yeah, maybe got a little bit too reckless in the end.
Yeah, yeah, most people are looking at that like, yeah, it's in the bag. I mean, if they've not actually broken the Terran, they might have mentally broken him. But HeRoMaRinE still fighting back. It's going to get another Cyclone on the list, another Viking. And with the tank, he'll eventually all start busting out of these shield batteries. At some point, he'll probably be like, the Nexus could be a worry. But if he busts out of this with the army intact, he could go for a really good counter.
For a split second there, HeRoMaRinE picked up 8 Marines. I don't hate the idea of trying to make a drop happen. On the other hand, if the units then get recalled and you lose that medevac and you lose 8 Marines of your one base Terran economy, that becomes a little bit dicey too. Prismatic Alignment activated just to gun down that medevac. Gotta say, well done by SOS.
Yep, that takes away any possible pressure. I mean, the Vikings could go across the map, but that's also very dangerous to do. They're going to try instead kill the Void Rays. The shield batteries, a lot of them are out of juice on the front lines, and to the left, the Void Rays playing a bit of a scary game here. So many of them are weak and just a bit far away, and that is going to be that. The hold of the main base exists here for HeRoMaRinE, and now he gets to play the rest of the game with a significant army type advantage. His army is well rounded to go across the map when there aren't a billion shield batteries protecting Void Rays.
And we don't have a Twilight Council yet, so it's not like SOS is waiting for charge to finish up. Now HeRoMaRinE is getting a little bit reckless too with his Vikings. One Viking goes down, second one takes a lot of damage. Phoenix 1 or 2 hits away from picking the second Viking off too. But this is going to be super difficult for SOS to fight. Obviously the Cyclones do have Magfield now, but he doesn't have a lot of micro potential in his army. What can you really do other than drop force fields?
Well, you can't get any more Phoenix. One Phoenix can lift, one lock on away, but that's about it. Buy a lot of time on the force fields with these ramps and then try and get just plenty of units, but HeRoMaRiNE's come across with that well-rounded army. The lock-on power is significant, the Viking micro is significant, the repair of the SCVs and the tanks to make sure that mass stack defense doesn't actually end up hitting them hard. The force fields are not coming down, the sentries are being lost, the fight is going to be had here of all places. SOS just running into the meat grinder. Perhaps overestimating Guardian Shield or something, but that did not work out.
Don't say that often, because Guardian Shield is very good, but I'm with you. We have 3 extra gateways finishing up, but even the units that SOS can warp in will be slow Zealots, so Stalkers without Blink. HeRoMaRiNE, despite the fact there were 12 shield batteries in his natural and 6 Void Rays at one point, takes the 1-0 lead.
That is very surprising, but also such a drastic difference to win versus lose to this. Anyone on ladder, I think, knows the experience. You win against this and you feel on top of the world. You're just like, yeah, I knew it. Protoss can't win with this 100% of the time. When you lose to it, you get very defeated. You still have a world-class player to play to if you go down a game. But instead, HeRoMaRiNE, I think, does what he would have hoped to have once he scouted it. Like, I know what to do. I know it's going to be okay. It wasn't okay for a while, but he brings it back. He gets the victory, and he should have a lot of confidence again versus SOS.
I really had a hard time imagining SOS not winning that game. And then I see all the Adepts shade into the middle line. I'm like, yeah, that's a bit awkward, because if they would have shaded on top of the Marines, but that don't have combat shield, don't have any upgrades, they would have just melted. Like, all the Adepts get one shot off, and then the Void Rays would wipe out the rest. But I'm like, even this is going to be fine, right? Well, apparently it wasn't. Let's take another look at that. Obviously, it started off bad for HeRoMaRiNE, not just with this Zealot, but losing the Tech Lab. And let's not forget about the Probe in the beginning of the game, getting an SCV kill. That's really not supposed to happen at the highest level. Hey, how do you explain that SOS did not win this game, Zombie Grub?
The Marine count can sneak up on this stuff, I've noticed, a couple of times, but it would almost always be like the almost hold, like, hey, that's a considerable amount of Marines, let's mention that, and then the Adept shade on top of them, the Void Rays still win out, like something, right? But in this game, it really was the fact that the Marine count was feisty. Void Rays do terribly when they're away from the shield batteries against a lot of units, actually, and the Adepts just weren't prioritizing the right units. They didn't. The goal was not to really kill SCVs there. If you really thought about the game, it was just kind of like, I'll throw everything at him and see what happens.
I also, like, looking at it again, it felt that the Void Rays definitely overextended a bit when it comes to, let's kill that Viking first, that's all the way in the back, then let's kill that Cyclone that's also behind the Marines, and it really put all the Voids right above the Marines. Well, normally Marines without Stim kind of have a hard time getting in range of the Void Rays and all being able to gun down a Void Ray at a time, but HeRoMaRiNE sneaking that one away, I can't believe it. That's actually a sick comeback.
It is. But I guess it can happen to anyone, right? And now we move on to another interesting map. Again, SOS just got rid of the last map pool, basically. Now we have Beckett Industries coming in for the PVT. A lot of Terrans, they feel confident here, but SOS, he clearly has a way that he envisions these best of threes going. But even with that last one looking so promising, he has once again been interrupted in his plan. He's already down one against this young man. In the bottom left of Beckett, we have now HeRoMaRiNE up 1.
And this man in the top right side is now one map away from being eliminated to DreamHack Masters Fall Season Finals. Let's see if our Korean magician can turn things around. This is SOS.
We do have a proxy pylon. As I said, I feel like at one time in the 4 potential, maybe 5 games that they play, that it has to be a fake. But this looks legitimate.
Yep, I don't think it's a fake because he hasn't built a gateway yet at home. So SOS will do the same thing as he did earlier today. At that point, I was sitting on the couch. I'm like, you cannot be serious. Is this real? As a diehard Coco fan, I see this kind of stuff very often. But at the DreamHack Masters Season Finals, it kind of caught me off guard. But the man really believes in it.
HeRoMaRiNE is, I think, kind of like trying to catch on to it the more that it happens. He was patrolling an SCV where that 3rd gateway went down, but it still ended up going down, which means that 2 gateways might once again finish. So that puts it more in the first game that they played category as he restarts the 3rd. But the first one I actually felt was more questionable than the second one, because at least the second one I felt like the plan was to get a Cyber and X-Core back at home. This one with the additional 3rd gateway, it really is just to apply so much pressure, but does it work? HeRoMaRiNE actually goes for a Reaper this time.
Yep, that's the first time he went for a Reaper. Now, this Reaper does have a lot of potential, because obviously with this build, the Cybernetic score is very late. So if you just send the Reaper to the other side of the map, you have potential to easily kill 4 or 5 probes, because there is no unit at home that can fight back whatsoever. One gateway already got picked off. I guess this Zealot will get out, but do not underestimate the power of this many SCVs. And I guess SOS just wants to follow this up with a Void Ray Rush or something, but this really looks like it's going nowhere again.
It's not going to get out. The full surround comes with a supply depot low, where that leaves one gateway. He really wasn't that quick to stop an X-Core, but at least he did start it this time around. That way, this is very confusing stuff. HeRoMaRinE now has a Reaper too, which actually might have been, you know, I thought may have been a problem. It wasn't a problem at all, and now the probes are free range. There's nothing to do against this except pull the probes.
Yep, SOS is gonna have to get lucky here and somehow kill this Reaper, but I think he also knows that if HeRoMaRinE doesn't mess up, he is not gonna kill this Reaper anytime soon. Since the Cybercore has finished up, we can now start a battery, but it doesn't change the fact that this is painful. And sure, HeRoMaRinE lost a lot of mining time before, but SOS is losing mining time now, and he's losing a lot of workers on top of that.
I gotta say, the income graph is pretty funny. It's just like, whoop, whoop. It just goes up and down. And of course, SOS is going to be feeling the pain this time. I still, like, I want to see the game actually work so I can have some context to give to you guys, but I have not seen these gateways work.
You can actually drain the battery here. That Reaper has enough DPS to drain that battery quite quickly. Now, I guess maybe we can have a battery overcharged it and still keep workers around. HeRoMaRinE doesn't want to stick around. In the end, he settled for 3 probe kills. And there is an Adept on the way. I guess he kind of knows that the follow-up is going to be Void Race too, because he sees the double assimilator. Already has the Marine that has scouted it, spots the pylon, spots the Stargate. SOS's PvT is wild, and I'm not sure if it's the right kind of wild.
Yeah, there was one time where it was the right kind of wild, where he took out TY, but it's a far cry from that. The proxy Void Ray should have even less success, since the Marines can actually try and stick around here. The Adept had to kind of worry about the Reaper, and now there's a Reaper even coming back to help, so it's 3 Marines and a Reaper against 1 Adept that doesn't have a shield battery next to it. He actually is trying to run for it now, but the body block! It's Warcraft all over again here. He finally gets the shield battery, and that makes it a little bit awkward for HeRoMaRinE to dedicate the Marines, but still, this is in full knowledge of HeRoMaRinE, right? He's going for the missile turret response too, which is excellent, until maybe you talk about Tempests, and then it gets a little bit awkward, but that's a really far way away.
Well, the first Void Race is going to fly deep into the mineral line, realizing that he fell quite far behind economically, so he wants to turn things around. HeRoMaRinE is 7 workers ahead. It's going to take a little while before those turrets are out. Let's see what this Void Ray decides to settle for. He's going to pick up one of the SCVs that was building the depots. That's maybe going to slow down HeRoMaRinE a little bit. These games make no sense at all, but now there's a depth shades into the main base too. And this is actually starting to deal quite a bit of damage. Void Ray is going to start working on the tech lab. HeRoMaRinE, you may want to repair that.
He does get the repair, but this actually turns so awkward. The missile turret's not being done. They were supposed to draw a line in the sand, and instead the Void Ray avoided the line. Oh, well, now it's in range of the Cyclone, though, without a shield battery to fall back to. It gets severely injured, but it is going to live for now. The shield batteries have only just begun, and the Cyclone upgrade this time around should be safe.
As we are waiting, while SOS is just going to poke away at the front, were you surprised that he never added in the Phoenix in the previous game? Because I feel like that's just the standard at this point. Everyone loves adding the Phoenix in to get the guaranteed kill on the Cyclone.
No, absolutely. I think it's a super rage-inducing as well, because you really feel like you can't do anything about it unless you just have like the perfect organization of Marines for one of Cyclones. Does barely miss out on killing that Void Ray, but this is one of those games where it should be easier for HeRoMaRinE because he will have the upgrade and will eventually have 3 Cyclones. He got a little supply block there, but it's still a pretty good situation.
We do have a missile turret getting a couple of shots off there. Void Ray kind of went down. I believe one Void Ray went down there, unless I missed it. No, nobody missed it. We were focusing on the Adept that shaded into the back of the natural, but Macfield is close to finishing up. We will have a Phoenix. So that's nice. He's even going to get a second Phoenix this time, so I guess SOS kind of agrees with us.
Yeah, maybe you just didn't see an opportunity last time. I mean, it can be like a decision, because so the Phoenix might not work out if it really is like Cyclones behind Bunker behind Marine, right? Because then that gives the Marines a decent amount of time to try and focus fire it down, or get it weak before they have to focus fire it. So I mean, I love that the Phoenix has become such a great addition, but even then in this game, HeRoMaRinE kind of has to go too far away, which isn't even possible anymore. He clears out the shield battery to the top side, and now he's totally safe.
And what's super nice for Gabe is that he still has this Reaper just roaming around the map. Because sometimes as a Terran player, it can get a little bit confusing where you're like, are they transitioning? Did they drop a Twilight? Have they expanded? Do I suddenly have to worry about 12 Zealots with charge? But because of that Reaper, HeRoMaRinE gets an excellent read on the game. And he's like, actually, I don't have to do anything. You're the one who needs to do something. Because the longer this goes on, the better my army becomes. And honestly, the worse your army becomes.
Even against, like, you can't actually harass the mineral line through this direction. 2 missile turrets is... Ah, okay, you can harass the refinery. I stand corrected, but still. The SCV should be safe. A minor annoyance, it will draw those units away from the bunker, but at this point it is a decent number of Marines. A Viking could even help out if need be, and if this would be so far away from the shield battery that it really would be like one and done, hope I win.
I mean, it's a little bit similar to what we had on Oxide, where it's like, oh, it looks somewhat close, but then you look at the production tab, you see +1 is on the way, Stim is on the way, and I just don't see sOS's army getting remotely decent anytime soon. We don't have a Twilight, we don't have a Forge, you don't have a robotics facility, so you can't hope for a magical Colossus or something. And I feel like now we're just waiting for Gabe to have Stim and have 20 Marines. I don't see how sOS ever wins a fight.
I don't know either, and it's not like you can buy a lot of time. I mean, SOS did try and do some weird things to buy time in their previous series. That kind of worked to a degree, I suppose, but it's like Beckett is the shortest map. You're going to get there pretty darn quickly, and I don't know if a couple of Phoenix harassing a mineral line with missile turrets are available are going to do any stalling.
No, and I mean, even if you get in, you get one SCV, you get a second SCV. That doesn't make up for the fact that you're now 3 workers behind as a Protoss against the Terran. We do finally have our Twilight Council. Maybe this is one of these lame when behind go Dark Shrine kind of games. Even if there are 3 turrets in the main, like what do I know, Zombie Grub?
I wouldn't be surprised by that or by Charge, actually, just because, again, Charge can be that kind of pounce, comeback maneuver, like, oh, you're not prepared, I actually have 20 Zealots, surprise.
I think that's the only thing you can do here. I think anything other than Charge would be a mistake, because if you go Blink now, you just never have a good army, so you're kind of forced to at least go Charge and try to show up with a somewhat decent army. Phoenixes and Zealots can be awesome, but they do a lot better against small armies, and preferably you're the one with an upgrade lead, or at least even in upgrades. Being down in upgrades when you play Phoenix Zealot against Terran, I've been there a couple times, it's not pretty.
It's not pretty, no, no. You're absolutely right, though. Like, if this is like a tank push where it's like a couple of tanks, a couple of Vikings, a couple of SCVs to repair, and like 6 Marines, and that's a composition that works quite well, but up against something that is, at this point, increasingly more like a typical macro TVP, lots of Marines and Marauders eventually, yeah, it'll be very hard to actually collapse in on this as a surprise factor. Like, HeRoMaRinE should be very aware, always prepared to micro, and his combat shields will hopefully be done.
Oh, no. 4 Phoenixes fly straight into the Terran army. Oh, as we are having a little bit of an audio issue. I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's on the production side, but it doesn't matter. What we do know is that was absolutely terrible for SOS. He didn't have a whole lot to begin with, but losing 4 Phoenixes like this opens the door for HeRoMaRinE to just get a drop going in the main base as well. A couple of Void Rays are going to do their best. We do have feedbacks on the Medivacs. That's pretty cool, and I like the Guardian Shield. But HeRoMaRinE's army is so much more powerful than SOS's army.
Funnily enough, this was before combat shields, but it also was before charge, so it's kind of like kind of a timing, I suppose. The Marines did get awfully injured with the Stim, and then the Zealots had a chance to swipe them once with the Guardian Shield, but overall a bit of an awkward one. Still it favors HeRoMaRinE. He had such a great comeback last game. This one is a little more straightforward with, again, the proxy gateways. Just, I don't really have like a perfect reason to be like, well, this is when it works, guys.